Good morning. Good morning. Modurole Ifemio. Pray for you. I your family. Good morning. How are you today? My name is Praiseful and welcome to PFthinks. From Praiseful International Studio, Lagos, Nigeria. How are you, wherever you're joining me from? Well, this is episode 84 of PFthinks. So we've been doing this for 84 days. You know what it means. And then we've covered so many issues. But we have started a series in 2 days ago on the science of parenting and WHIZKID. That in this series, we're going to unravel all the difficulties in parenting and what parents are getting wrong with a view to assisting you maximize the potential of your parenting. Now, I hope you are learning very fast and I hope you are putting into practice everything you're learning on this show. Well, how are you, by the way? And how is everything with you? I hope you guys are keeping safe. May God keep you and protect you through the season. Now, today, I have decided to touch on a very, very difficult issue, which is the domestication code, because in the parenting quadrant, which I will introduce you to later, you have the seed owner, which is God. You have the seed, which is the child. You have the seed environment. Then you have the seed handler. Oftentimes in the parenting template or charter, the problem is not often the seed. The problem is not often the seed owner. The problem is often the seed handler, which is you. The seed handler is not wicked. The seed handler was only domesticated to act in a particular way. You were groomed and you had several softwares installed, programs installed in you by the people that raised you that makes you act in a particular way. Is it not amazing that many of the things you criticize in your parents, your children are already criticizing you? The very thing you wanted to avoid is who you have actually become, because that was what you were running away from. So consistently, an average parent is asking, how do I parent a WHIZKID? I mean, I've done all kinds of studies on parenting. I have studied almost all the icons in the world, all the people that made it out and became icons and became global leaders, to understand how they were raised and how their parenting shaped who they became. Right. So today, I'm going to be moving you in the direction of the difference between domestication and discipline. If you look around Africa, for example, you should be worried at our style of parenting and the speed at which we raise children and the kind of children we raise. That why is it that an average African child at the age of 14 or 13, 14 will battle with low self-esteem? Now, it's not limited to Africa, because I've worked in Europe, I've worked with families from North America, right? It's almost the same, right? But even Africans who don't live in Africa, why is it that it's almost similar, right? What happened to us and why do we delight in inflicting pain on our children? I often ask parents who slap, yell, beat their children, that when you held that child in your arms, it was that part of the promise you made to that child that when you are 6, the kind of beating I will give to you, the whole world will have never seen it before. Was that part of what you told the child? That wasn't part of what you told the child. But between the you that was lovey-dovey, that was holding the child in your hands, breastfeeding this child, what happened? How did you move from that you that was excited of the arrival of the child to beginning to beat the child, thinking that you're correcting the child? Now, if beating could correct a behavior, prisoners would have changed through corporal punishment. But we all know that the more you beat prisoners, the more they are empowered to go and perpetrate a crime. Now, what has happened to Africa? How come we struggle to produce global icon? How come we struggle to work together? Other culture, the Asians, other culture, if you meet the Japanese, if you meet the Chinese, if you meet the Jews, if you meet the Arabs, the Indians, what makes them tick is their ability to work together. I know that many of us would attribute our pain to the slavery that we're subjected to, the slave trade era. But how come the slave trade did more damage to Africa than the rest of the world? Because others were also colonized. Now, what is the place of religion in all of this? What is the place of culture? Because our culture is no longer our culture, right? So I drink tea in sun, I wear tie. I mean, I mean, the last time I wore tie was 2006 because I couldn't really, undo it, so I had to stop, right? That what is it about our culture, that was totally damaged, that has begun to produce people cannot collaborate? I have a research work that was done in 1813 where it was broken down who a typical African or Negro is, and it was amazing what they found, that we have the tendency to inflict pain on our children and our wives, right? That's part of our DNA. What is it about the Bantus that makes us act the way we do? And what generation will snap out of this to begin to produce children who have sound esteem? Let me tell you this. If you have never experienced sound esteem before, you may never understand what it means to raise a child who is confident of himself, a child who can stand his own anywhere he goes. Now, what exactly has happened to us as Africans? Because we go from Mali to South Africa to Seychelles to Niger, to Burkina Faso to Lomé. Why is it that we have not been unable to snap out of who we used to be? Why is it that we're yet to produce a first world African country? Why is it that we are classified as third world despite the fact that we have vast resources? Why is it that we cannot do our affairs without intervention from others? Why is it that we are unable to do this? Now, we have heard about Thomas Sankara and several other African leaders who attempted to produce an independent African nation, but were unsuccessful. It's that they were killed by their own people. Why is it that we kill our heroes? What exactly is the problem? Now, you might want to look at big man without big systems, because Africa is not built on system, which is why an average family is not built on an intentional template. Our family is built on our emotion. So when you are throwing tantrums, everybody gets upset, everybody runs away. When you are happy, everybody must laugh. That this diet must determine everybody's diet. I know that many African parents are trying to change that, but they have also gone to another extreme where they do not understand the basics of parenting, which is the power of observation. I'm going to spend some time teaching this in this particular series. I think we're in for a long time on this series, right? Then what is the role of slavery in who we have become? What exactly is our history? Because all kinds of history has been taken away, for example, from the Nigerian curriculum system. So our children don't know our history. They don't know our heroes. They know nothing except the stories. In fact, we depend on the whites to tell our stories first. I mean, it's amazing, right? And they will give us a version that they understand. And we even prefer those versions. But what exactly was the truth, right? Was it Mungo Park that that discovered River Niger, right? The people that were living in River Niger, what did they discover? What did they call it? Now, these are critical issues that we don't want to get into this season. But one of the things that happens every time I teach the subject of parenting is that a typical African audience will think that I'm trying to westernize their children, right? So what has happened is we have lost the capacity to raise a human being that every time we see a template that contradicts what we have known, the way we respond is, oh, Praise is trying to Americanize us. And I say to them, I am not an American. I am African, and I'm a proud one of that. In fact, an arrogant one of that, right? But one thing I have learned is that whatever works, I have learned to embrace it. No matter how much I'm emotional about a concept, about a person, the moment what he has taught me has not worked for 3 years, I am going to dump it. Trust me, I am going to dump it. So what that has helped me do over time is it has helped me question a lot of concepts that we teach that is not working. For example, I do not believe when we give birth to a child, right, that we take the child and dedicate the child to the Lord without his permission, right? And even when we dedicate the child to the Lord, we do not, the question I ask is, where did we copy that concept from? We copy it from the Jewish system. But the Jews who go to dedicate a firstborn, not every child, to the Lord in the temple, right? Because that was the culture, and that was the injunction from Moses, right? Moses was a cultural leader, was a national reformist, basically. He was building the nation, he wasn't the pastor, right? Moses that instituted that. The Jews have a parenting template, a 14-year parenting program, right? That terminates at the Beth Mitzvah festival, where you bring your child to the community and lay your hands on your child and declare to the community, this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased, which means you have properly raised that child. A Jewish system knows what a child should know at the age of 14 because he must have memorized Torah before the age of 14. The child must have been assigned to a mentor before the age of 14. Now, Africa does not have that template. All we do is we dedicate a child to the Lord. So I ask the question, all the children we dedicate to the Lord, can we check their lives out after 18 years to see who they've become, right? Is it possible to dedicate a child to the Lord by 8th day or something, and the child turns out to become an armed robber? The answer is yes. Why? What is the distance between dedicating a child to the Lord and the child becoming an armed robber? The problem is there was no intentional template. So we dedicate, we lift a child to the Lord, and we pray for the child, and we assume that prayer by itself will work magic and the child will become extraordinary child or a WHIZKID. Now, our results consistently have shown that is not working, right? So, but we keep doing what doesn't work and what doesn't serve our best interest. Now, I am not saying don't attempt to dedicate your child to the Lord, provided you even understand who the Lord is, right? Because consistently, parents say to me, I want to raise my child in the way of the Lord. And I ask them, what is the way of the Lord? All they list to me are activities. He must go to church, he must play drums, he must join a department. That is not totally the way of the Lord. There is much more to the way. In fact, those are basic and base, right? The critical issue, nitty-gritty of the way of the Lord, which includes opening his heart to be able to accept, respect, love others. We do not teach that because we don't have the capacity to teach it. You cannot give what you do not have. The version of God you know was the version of God you were taught, but that's not all you need to know about God. God is too vast, too big, that nobody can discern him fully, right? And if you learn to ask questions, you will get closer to what you should know. So when we teach this concept, what I hear is the whites spoil their children and their kids are not disciplined. Praise, you want to turn our children to American children. But I always ask, if you look at some of the icons that you want to be like, as a matter of fact, as at the last time I checked, what was on the prayer list of many parents were products that were created by the white children that you said were not disciplined, right? So they are produced as Steve Jobs, they are produced Mark Zuckerberg, they produce Bill Gates, they produce top surgeons. As a matter of fact, our best hands that became great did not become great within the African continent. Many of them became great by the systems the so-called white kids are produced. Now, I'm not teaching racism, right? I'm just telling you data-driven research result that we need to begin to pay attention to, right? So, if you look at Tiger Woods, his father, even though Tiger Woods is black, right, but he operated in that system. Tiger Woods' father took him to the golf course at the age of 4 and bought him his first golf kit. What did he see? Serena Williams' parents, they took the Serena and Venus to the lawn tennis court at the age of 4. What did they see? Right? Michael Jackson's father put his son to dancing, even though there was a bit of abuse in there. But what did they see? Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, what did their parents see that set them on the path of, the icon that they have become, right? And what have you given your child? What did you observe in your child? What did your own parents give you at the age of 6? Many of us were given tires to roll. Many of us were given toys we didn't understand. Many of us were given slaps. We were taught all kinds of things that we did not need, taken to places that did not power or protect our best interest, right? And that's why An average adult, we are now 40, 30. We are still confused about the purpose for our existence. We've gone for several seminars. The man God we use, discovering your purpose, unleashing your purpose, year in, year out. The purpose we are still here to discover, right? And that's why many of us are still confused, even though we've gotten a job, we have a car, we built a house, but there is still a soul search to say, is this all my life? An average adult in here is still asking that question. Now, if you look at our sets of leaders and look at their sets of leaders, you want to ask, what is it about their leaders that thinks about the future of their generation? What is it about our own leader that thinks about their pockets? So if you look at all our leaders, from Murtala Mohammed to OBJ in Nigeria, to Gowon, to Muhammad Buhari, to President Buhari, to Abacha, to Sardauna, to all of them, Mr. What's his name, Babangida, to Shagari, to Yaradua, to Goodluck Jonathan. What is it about them that in 8 years of leading Nigeria, they couldn't produce a nation that even has a clear direction? And what is it about these people? What was it about Obama? And meanwhile, Obama is not a black man. I hope you know he has a black skin, but he has a white heart, right? What is it about Lee Kuan Yew that made him? I mean, if you read the book from the Third World, Lee Kuan Yew said that when Singapore was a third world nation, Nigeria was a third world nation, that every time they went for United Nations meeting to go and solicit for help, he said, as the Prime Minister of Singapore, as the President of Singapore, he will get on the commercial fly economy to those meetings. He said by the time he got to that meeting, he met Nigerian leaders with their Babariga and Agbada. They came for the same meeting, right? But they have brought a national carrier. They have come in a private jet, and the private jet is parked doing nothing all through the duration of the meeting. And he used to wonder, what is it about this third world country that is coming to solicit for help from United Nations, but they have come with luxury? But he said something in that book that shocked me. He said he noticed that when it was time to discuss sensible issues that will transform the world, he said Nigerian leaders are either sleeping or they have gone shopping. He said the only time Nigerian leaders have full attention and their faculty is alive is when they are talking about grants and donation. That's the only time they are alive. Now, this happened many, many years ago in the 60s and the 70s. Question is, have we changed? You still see our leaders sleep during intelligent discussions, right? Which means it's been in our DNA to sleep when we discuss critical issues that will transform the world. But once money is involved, everybody is awake. Now, this is an indictment on who we have become, and this is part of what we need to change. Now, so what we say is our culture is a no-nonsense culture, and we are very disciplined. As a matter of fact, the generation before us that produced us is an arrogant generation that says we were disciplined. Even we say we were disciplined. And the question I ask, because you cannot say you are disciplined without your result. If I measure your result, then I can situate your result against your declaration to see how congruent and how truthful your result is. A disciplined people will naturally produce a disciplined society. The moment the society is not disciplined, the people cannot say they are disciplined. Follow this. So if you look at our society looks like a people have been harassed. So we mistake discipline for domestication, or we mistake domestication for discipline. Were we disciplined or we were domesticated? Right? Two different things, even though they look similar in their operational system, right? So if you look at what Lee Kuan Yew did, many years after, Singapore has moved from third world to first world. Malaysia has moved from third world to first world, right? Many countries have moved, but Africa has not moved perpetually. In fact, we are the only group of people whose past look better than our present or our future. So if you look at Nigeria, in the 50s, in the 60s, if you see the picture, we looked very sane. Of course, that was when we were being colonized, and shortly after independence, we looked very sane. If you look at Lagos, 1960, and Lagos right now, we have become like a slum. What happened from the time power was handed over to us? We have become worse. If you check South Africa, you go to Soweto, you go to all those places, you see the places where the whites used to occupy. Now they vacated it. Now it's gone back to, what it used to be. Now the problem is a land will be reflected by the quality of people who live on that land. So if you see disorderliness, it means the people who occupy that land are disorderly. Why is it that the first thing you notice when you step into any third world or African country is disorderliness from our airport, except for a few of them? Now, there's almost like chaos, right? From Gambia to Niger, I went to Niger, I almost cried, right? To Burkina Faso, disorderliness, right? From the time you land at the airport, right? What is it about the other tribe or the other races that when you land at their airport, in their airport, there's a bit of sanity, a bit of, I mean, you are welcome with free Wi-Fi, but if you land at Mauritania Mohammed Airport, God help you if you don't have a Nigerian SIM card, because you may not be able to call the person that's coming to pick you. So what was it about us that has produced a society that we all hate, but we are not willing to leave, right? And yet we all gravitate towards the foreign education, yet we blame them for our misfortune. Now, COVID-19 is here. The federal government of Nigeria just said that there will be no WHIZKID. Now, question is, how come we couldn't think that a time will come that children might need to write SSCE from the comfort of their home? How come we are the only people who are still analog in a digital age? Who are we trying to please? What part of the country are we trying to settle that we now hold the other part of the country back based on what we have failed to do? Leaders have been in power year in, year out. Is it not a shame that in many African countries, to become the CEO of a bank, you may need a PhD or 2 masters or an LBS, a Harvard degree, right? But to become the head of state, you only need school cert. So school cert leads PhD. Now, what a contradiction. Now the question is, how can a school cert, how open-minded can he be to power a nation that will be developed? These are critical questions that we are not asking. But you see, it's a problem that started from the family, right? Where a man who has no focus, who has no direction, but because he has pennies, he's the head of the family, fails to listen to his wife, who is producing a lot of intelligence simply because he feels I must be in control. Now, he doesn't understand leadership, that leadership is servanthood, the ability to galvanize all the resources around you and give expression to them in service to God and humanity. So when we say our culture is a no-nonsense culture, we are not serious, because a disciplined people will produce a disciplined environment. The moment your environment is not disciplined, you are not a disciplined culture, you were domesticated. So let me break it down this morning. The word discipline is from the Latin word disciplina, right? Because when you want to understand a concept, you go to the etymology of that concept, which means the first time the word was used. The word discipline is from the Latin word disciplina, meaning instruction and training. It is derived from the root word discere, to learn. It means discipleship. Now, so look at discipline. You will not find caning, flogging, yelling, tantrums, anger. You will not find it within the operating system of discipline. Is the word disciplina, which means instruction and training. Now, please don't get me wrong. I did not say our culture is totally bad. There are good sides to our culture. But when our culture has not produced inventors, has not produced, credible people, has not produced exceptional leader within the confines of Africa, there's a problem, and we need to fix that problem. If our best hand will need to travel for them to find expression and for them to be able to release their potential, there's a problem. Are you aware that Elon Musk was born in South Africa? Elon Musk did primary education, secondary education in South Africa. Why did Elon Musk leave Africa for Canada en route America? Elon Musk concluded by observation that his potential will never find expression in Africa. He concluded that America is a land of opportunity where everyone who is given a chance, no matter who they are, right? And that was why he ran away at the age of 17 from South Africa to Canada first. From Canada, he found his way to America. You can see who Elon Musk has become. Question: would Elon Musk have become Elon Musk? Will he have been able to create Tesla? Would he have been able to create PayPal or SpaceX from Africa? The answer is no. We would have frustrated him. We would have, through our tribalism, ethnicity, someone calls it ethnicitis, is a disease. We would have frustrated him. We would have pulled him down. We would have created legislation to stifle his potential. We can, in fact, maybe it will not even have the amenities it takes to release the potential that he has inside of him. There are children who has vast potential, but the potential may never find expression within the space that we have right now if care is not taken. So the word discipline has nothing to do with caning, yelling, tantrums, anger. The word discipline is from the Latin word disciplina, which means instruction and training, right? Which means to learn. Now, the best way to understand discipline is to understand discipleship. For those of you who go to church or mosque, you understand discipleship. When someone joins your religion, you want to take them through discipleship. Now, if you are a Christian, you understand that is a newborn baby. It should desire the sincere milk that it may grow. So you excuse their mistakes, right? So if you had someone who used to smoke and is now, in quote, born again, that's what you call it, right? And after 3 months, you find the person smoking again. Do you get angry? Do you slap him? You do not slap. You understand that they are growing. You counsel them. You tell them, I know you can change. I'm willing to put up with you. But when your children do the same, all hell is let loose. Do you suddenly pretend as if your child is not growing, as if your child is above error, as if your child is above experimentation, as if your child is above mistake? You now begin to beat the child because you apply your emotions to your child. You treat your child with meanness, but you get a church and pretend as if you are good. Then you understand with the new convert. It's amazing. Now, the word domestication is the Latin word domesticatus, which means to convert to domestic use, to tame, to bring under control or cultivation, right? To tame. So when you hear parents, I'm going to tame you, that's what they mean. I'm going to domesticate you, that I'm going to take away your power to become the best of yourself. The moment a child cannot express himself fully, the moment a child cannot ask questions human beings should ask, and you feel insulted by the question your child is asking, you are the problem. The child is not the problem, because you were domesticated and destroyed, that you lost your confidence, you lost your voice, because your parents took your capacity to be curious and to dare things away from you. The same thing in the name of care you are doing to your child. The word domestication is domesticatus, which means to convert to domestic use, to tame and bring under control or cultivation. Then there's a third word called punish, which we use. I'm going to punish you. I'm going to punish you. To punish is from the Latin word punere, which means to correct, chastise, take vengeance for, inflict a penalty, or cause pain for an offense. Now, question is, when you say you want to correct your child, do you want to punish? Do you want to domesticate or discipline? If discipline is what you wanted to do, then it is instruction and training for a child to learn, right? And you need to find the best approach to give that instruction. Anger does not instruct. Pain does not instruct. Beating and yelling does not instruct, right? But that is the only mode many of us know. You literally bully a child, but you have been given a simple instruction, maybe by your mentors, by your husband, by your wife. You have failed to do it, but you were not beaten. You did not beat yourself. Suddenly you pretend as if only a child deserves to be beaten. You are still misbehaving. There are things you have not mastered. If beating is the recipe for correction, then you should correct yourself by slapping yourself every time you do what is wrong. But you do not do that. You excuse yourself. But when a child does the same thing that human beings do, you suddenly flex your energy. Something is wrong with you. There's a pain in your life that was inflicted in your childhood that you have not overcome, and that you are taking out on your child. What the child has done is not what is warranting your slapping and yelling. Your interpretation is the problem. You do not understand the age-appropriate behavior for a child at different ages. For example, if you have preteens or teenagers, they are going to take you up. They're going to challenge you. A lot of us cannot stand contrary opinion, because when things don't go our way, our response is to bully the person, provided the person doesn't have power over us. So I've already defined discipline, domestication, and punishment. Now, here is the differentiation. 20 differences between a disciplined people and a domesticated people. One, how you know wherever you fall is who you are, and you need to create a massive change in your life from today. Leave your child out of this. A disciplined people will be groomed. Grooming is part of their DNA. A domesticated people is scattered. Immediately right now, take your mind to your room. Take your mind to your house. Is your house groomed? Are you groomed? Or are you scattered? If you are scattered, it's one of the symptoms that you were domesticated, you were not disciplined. Number two, orderliness. A disciplined people will be orderly. A domesticated people practice hypocritical orderliness. What that means is until they hear a knock on their door, they never arrange their house. So if you are listening to me, when you hear a knock in your house, that's when you say, oh yeah, hey, put this on, visitors are coming, oh yeah, and you begin to pant and you start putting everything in place. You were domesticated, you were not disciplined. Number 3, fearlessness. A disciplined people are fearless. Domesticated people are fearful. So if there is fear in your heart, you were domesticated, you were not disciplined, which means you were not discipled. Number 4, disciplined people, they resist evil. So you see Turkey, there was a time they wanted to fight against their leader. The guy stood in front of what do you call it, a machine, a military vehicle, right? And he said, come and ride over me, right? So they can resist evil. The domesticated people they worship evil. What that means is that they see a leader they don't like, they talk ill about him behind his back, but when he shows up, they do rankadede. We love you, our leader, our president, you are the best. There are people who hate President Buhari. They can't stand him. They see his flaws, but when they see him, they say, Baba, you are the best. But behind him, they know. And they say all kinds of evil things. That is domestication, right? And it happens in our places of worship, it happens in our politics, it even happens in the family. People talk ill of their father, but when he shows up, they say you are the best. They talk ill of their pastor. When he shows up, you are the best. They talk ill of their bosses, but when he shows up, Baba, there's none like you. Next one. A disciplined generation is daring, right? A domesticated generation is afraid. So if there is fear inside of you, if you are not daring to dare things and follow things, you were domesticated. A disciplined people have a supporting environment because their environment is disciplined to produce the best version of them. Domesticated people have no support, right? So there is COVID-19. Disciplined nations created palliatives for their citizens. Domesticated nations have no plan, right? A disciplined generation, they understand citizenship and they understand their rights, which is why they can speak against their president, talk against their, they know it cannot kill them. Domesticated people have no clue what it means to be a citizen. Nigeria, we don't know what it means to be a citizen, right? Which is why Nigeria is going down, but senators are buying new cars. That is symptoms of domestication. Next one, right? In discipline, your opinion counts. In domestication, you have no opinion. So if you are within a family where your opinion does not count, or the opinion of your children does not count, you are domesticating them because you were domesticated. Or if you were brought up from a family where your opinion does not count, you were domesticated. Next one, you can bounce back from mistakes easily in a disciplined environment. In a domesticated environment, your mistakes define you and becomes your label, which is why you have to hide your mistakes and not open it up, because you know when you open it up, it's going to define you and people are not going to forgive you, right? In a disciplined environment, you are discipled and conditioned to be yourself. You are discipled and conditioned to be yourself. In domestication, you are discipled and conditioned to be someone else. So you see people sound like their mentors. They speak like their mentors. They don't know they have lost their authenticity. They've lost themselves in their mentor. They are not aware, right? So there are people who reflect different people at every point in time in their life. Domestication, you are discipled and conditioned to be someone else. So now some of you are reflecting your father. You are reflecting your mother. The only person you have not reflected is you. You are reflecting your boyfriend. Your esteem is not together because you are totally scattered. Now, in discipline, you think about others. In domestication, you think survival and escape, right? You think survival and escape, which is why in domestication, the biggest topic in the domesticated environment is heaven. Oh, one day we'll run to heaven. One day we'll run to heaven. That's the biggest discussion in a domesticated environment. In a disciplined environment, they are talking about dominion. They are talking, let us explore Mars. Now, if you hear domesticated people talk about the quest for some nations to go and explore Mars, they say it's because they don't belly food. It's because they don't chop. That's why they'll be thinking we've not finished eating. Why should we think about? Because they think survival, right? In domestication, you can think, challenge concepts, and innovate. That's in discipline. In domestication, you use other people's thoughts to survive because you can't think by yourself. Your thinking is not appreciated, right? So, for example, in Nigeria, there are lots of stuff that we are doing that is not being recognized because they would rather support white elements than their people. I did a project, I was consultant on that project. Now, that project is parenting in Nigeria, but it's been contracted to a foreign company to come and do it, right? And they did it quite right for Africa, but the feedback was not totally okay. So they had to get a local consultant to stand on it, and I had to sit on it, right? To design a curriculum. But you see, that is who our people are, right? So you use other people's thought to survive because your thought is not appreciated. But in a disciplined environment, you can think, challenge concepts, and innovate. So when you see Silicon Valley and people produce innovation consistently, it's because the environment permits it. Now, in discipline, you think long term. In domestication, you want it now, which is why nations that are disciplined, they thought long term, which is why they could survive COVID and create palliative for their citizens. But our nation and domesticated nation, they think now. So when there is oil windfall, they pocket it, they buy houses, they do not save for raining day. They do not create a non-oil dependent economy. Dubai, UAE, you can see what they've done with the same oil money. Go to Malaysia, see what they've done with oil money. Come to Nigeria, go to northern Nigeria. You will see, you will cry, and you will ask yourself, is the same Islam in northern Nigeria the same Islam in Saudi Arabia? Right? Because we want it now. In discipline, you are very real and truthful. In domestication, there are different sides to you depending on where you are, because you cannot speak your truth because people cannot accommodate your truth. In disciplined country, you are very open about where you stand. In domestication, you keep where you stand to yourself because you say, I don't want people to hold me. I don't want them to hold me. In discipline, you are scientific. In domestication, you are religious. Have you not noticed that the most backward countries in the world today are the most prayerful or the most religious countries? Now, we say we are prayerful. We do not pray. We love the activities of prayer, right? We do, because we don't have answers to prayers, and we don't bother to sit to ask God what is the answer. We are not interested. We just love to say we pray for 24 hours, we pray for 7 hours, we dance. The wall of Jericho fell down. Even though Israel is not dancing around to fall their own wall of Jericho, Nigeria will dance 72 hours to say the wall of Jericho. We are just gyrating, right? We do not measure the result of our 72 hours of dance or 72 hours of prayers, and we conclude by ourselves that's our prayer that is still holding Nigeria. Is because we have not gone to other countries to find out what they are doing. So in disciplined society, you are scientific, right? In domesticated environment, you are religious. In disciplined society, you have a clear culture and heritage. In domesticated environment, you have no clear-cut culture. In disciplined society, you understand freedom. In domestication, you think freedom but live in slavery. So an average African thinks, oh, we are free, we are independent. You are not independent, right? You are still living in slavery within your own enclave, right? In discipline, you serve the interest for which you were born. In domestication, you serve the interest of someone else. So someone recruits you, and before you know it, you have served his own interest, served his family for the rest of your life, that by the time you get to old age, you are asking yourself, what have I lived for? Right? In discipline, the tools here is modeling, instruction, and correction that is based on love and respect for the potential of the child. I'll take that again. In discipline, the tools are modeling, instruction, correction that is based on love and respect for the potential of the child. In domestication, the tools are anger, cane, and all sorts of tantrums that is based on force and has no regard for the potential and the thinking of a child. So before you flog your child, you are not engaging him in communication to say, what were you thinking? What happened? This is unlike you, right? Who exactly are you? You are not having that communication. You are just angry because your parents were angry with you. They flogged you, they struck you, they said all kinds of things. Exactly the same anger that you have not healed from is what you are passing to your children. And they will also pass it to their own children. So question, based on what I've shared this morning, were you disciplined or you were domesticated? Were you discipled or you were domesticated? If you find yourself more in domestication, you need to heal. You need to even pause and stop parenting and deal with yourself. Train up a child in the way he should go, not the way you want him to go. Did they pay attention to your core potentials in the way you were raised? Did your opinion matter, or you were silenced? Did they bother to find out what way does he want to go, or they impose their ways on you? So, were you disciplined, or you were domesticated? What was the opportunity cost of how you were raised? Right? Are you more confident? Are you curious? Are you daring now? Right? You see that blacks avoid extreme sports because we say we don't want to die, but we are the ones who die the most. The highest prayer that elicits amen is you will not die this year. That's the highest prayer that elicits amen in our religious houses, right? But except a grain of wheat falls down and dies, it doesn't abide. Nations that want to die, they've gone to the moon. They've created all kinds of innovation. Nations that don't want to die, they are just multiplicating religious houses. That's all they do, right? So are you more confident? Are you more curious? Are you more daring? Are you able to express your mind without any fear? Are you able to play without guilt? And are you able to make mistakes without cover up? If you can't do all these things, they are proof that you were domesticated, you were not disciplined. Are you more confident? Are you still curious? Are you more daring? Are you able to express your mind without any fear? Are you able to play without any guilt? Are you able to make mistakes without cover up? So, what do you need to do today? Right? I wanted to share more, but time is gone. So I'll just run through this. But please, if you are yet to download or subscribe for our combo pack for the month of July, you will be doing your child a lot of disservice, right? It's how to recover your child in 21 days, and every other thing you need to teach your child. Is a product that if you buy them individually, is $181. But for the month of July, we have an offer for $80, which is about 36,000 naira if you're in Nigeria, instead of 82,000 that you would have paid. So please get it, right? It's on iampraiseforward.com/WHIZKID. WHIZKID is WHIZKID. Go and get that package now, right? Because you were domesticated and you may damage your child if you are not careful. So, what do you need to do today? One, review how you were raised to be sure you were not domesticated. Of course, with everything I've shared today, it shows that many of us were domesticated. Number two, what did you hate as a child that you have started doing to your own children? What did you hate as a child that was being done to you that now you have started doing it to your children? Can you pause back? In fact, one of the activities you need to do is to think your life back into your childhood and see what your parents used to do that you used to hate, and check what you are doing to your children right now. And one of the ways is, can you engage your children and tell them to give you feedback and ask them, what would you want me to stop? What is it that you don't like about me? Whatever they say to you, please change it. Number three, what pains must you heal from in your childhood that has defined the adult you have become? What pain existed in your childhood that you have not healed from that has now turned you into an angry? I see a lot of parents, they want to love, but they're outputting hate. They want to hold their children and say nice things, but they don't have the capacity because they were domesticated. So they are beaten, they hate the beating, but they have experienced learned helplessness, where that is the default response that comes their way, even though that's not what they want. So several people I know who want to tell their spouses, I love you, but by the time they see their spouse, they can't find the words to express it. These are symptoms of pain you need to heal from. Now, if you go back to what I did, PFthinks episode 57, you will find the healing process. Go and use that solution. It will help you. Number four, what system of movement has perpetuated your domestication, whose solution has not worked, but you have held on to it over the years? This particular question, you cannot be emotional about it. Is there a movement or a system that has perpetuated your domestication? They've taught you all kinds of things. They've told you 7 step, 8 step, do this, do that, and it has not worked, right? If you have held onto that system, it is time to change it and embrace what has a history of working and delivering. Right? To be doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result is one of the symptoms of insanity, right? So if you have done something for 10 years, it has not produced the result. It's time to check it. It's either something is wrong with that system or something is wrong with you. Number 5, what relationship do you truly desire with your child? And who must you become to achieve it? You need to get help. Some of you need to get into coaching. You need to enlist a coach. You need to enlist a therapist to help you break free from the self-sabotaging pattern. Trust me, you need a therapist. I have had to go and sit before a therapist to heal from my pain. That day I cried because I didn't know how to grieve. So I suppressed my pain for so long a time, and it was affecting me. But that day I cried bitterly, right? And I began to find healing. So you may need to get a therapist or a coach if you find yourself damaging your children, throwing tantrums, getting angry about what you should communicate about, right? What must die in you, number 6, and what should resurrect in you? What must die? Can you list what must die and what must resurrect in you? Now you can go through the healing process on PFthinks episode 57. I wanted to share the templates of Maya Musk, the mother of Elon Musk. I'll just read through them, but I will treat them extensively later, because part of what I want to do in this series is to begin to show you the parenting template of every global icon and how their parents raised them. But Maya Musk was asked, how did you raise Elon Musk and his brothers and his siblings? And she said, number 1, he said, put your children to work at an early age, but don't take away their play for balance purpose, right? Let them find their play within their work, which means foster entrepreneurship. Number 2, treat them like adults without stealing their childhood, which means teach them independence. Let them be free to take decisions. Don't take decisions for them. If they go and do something, right? Be proud about what they're able to do by themselves. Many of our parents didn't allow us to take decisions. They did. You cannot play. You cannot go there. You cannot watch TV. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. You cannot play, till they turned us to who we are. Number 3, let them follow their interests. Don't impose your interest on your child. Number 4, don't get them used to luxury. Promote resourcefulness. Number 5, let them take responsibilities for their own future. Let them take responsibilities for their own future. Right? And then you need to promote resourcefulness, right? You need to promote their ability to do things for themselves, their ability to become the best version of themselves. You need to promote that. I will deal with that extensively in some of the series I'm going to be running on the parenting template of children who have become global icons and what we can learn from them. I've done that research over the years. I'm going to be reeling them out for the first time in the course of PFthinks. So you don't want to miss it. By the way, like I said, if you have not gotten the new package we released, which is for you, it's $80, go and get it. I will end today's session by making a quote by L.R. Knox. He said, discipline is helping a child solve a problem. Punishment is making a child suffer for having a problem. To raise problem solvers, focus on solutions, not retribution. I'll take it again. Discipline is helping a child solve a problem. Punishment is making a child suffer for having a problem. To raise problem solvers, focus on solutions, not retribution. That was a statement, a quote by L.R. Knox. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have learned something. If you were a victim of domestication, please get help. One of the things you can find help with is the WHIZKID package. There is, about 3 days in the 21 days that you will find healing for yourself. It will take you back to who you used to be. You will find healing for yourself. You will find what you have done wrong with your child. You will learn how to create a script for your child, and you will learn how to begin to find yourself in the life of your child all over again within 21 days, right? Go there, take the course, and take everything that comes with it. He has about 3 books. He has a course in there. Then he also, your child is able to attend a free session with me this month. I'm going to be meeting with Gen Z teenagers. Later this month, your child has entry pass by taking advantage of that solution. Thank you so much for joining me. I deeply appreciate and celebrate you. Thanks for always making it a date with me every morning at 3 a.m. Thank you, everyone, wherever you join from. I respect, I honor, and I celebrate you. I'll see you tomorrow, God's willing. Till then, keep loving, keep living, and keep dancing to Duduke. I'll see you. Bye-bye.